In the previous class, we saw some X-ray characterization tools, namely XRD and XPS, to characterize nanomaterials and nanostructures. We saw that XRD can be used to identify the phases and also to estimate the average particle size if done properly. XPS, on the other hand, helps us to understand the chemical composition of the material. Today we are going to discuss some electron microscopy based techniques for nanomaterial characterization. I'm sure that you all are familiar with optical microscope, which enables us to direct imaging of what is being analyzed. We had seen in the beginning of this course that the resolution achievable by an optical microscope is diffraction limited, and therefore two points located closer than lambda by Na cannot be resolved. So resolution of a microscope is related to the wavelength of the radiation used to illuminate the object. Resolution provided by common optical microscope is in hundreds of nanometers, as shown in this image, which gives an idea about the resolution limit of various microscopic techniques. It also tells us the typical objects that can be imaged with these microscopic techniques. This equation is valid for electrons as well, where the speed determines their wavelength. The higher the speed of electrons, the smaller the wavelength and better the resolution. Since the de Broglie wavelength of the electrons accelerated at a sufficiently high electric potential is of the order of 10 raised to minus 10 meter, the electron microscopic techniques has emerged as a powerful tool for characterization of the size and shape of nanostructured materials. Electron microscopes can easily resolve structures that are 0.1 nanometer apart. There are two popular electron microscopic methods called the transmission electron microscopy or TEM and the scanning electron microscopy or SEM. TEM is the electron microscopic analog of transmission optical microscope, in which a focused beam of electrons is used instead of light to see through the specimen. SEM involves scanning of a focused electron beam across the sample, and we are going to discuss these two methods in detail. First, let's discuss about the transmission electron microscopy, which is popularly abbreviated as TEM. The overall design of an electron microscope is similar to that of an optical microscope. In the electron microscope, the light is substituted with electrons and the glass lens are substituted with electromagnetic or electrostatic lenses. The design of a transmission electron microscope and its similarity to an optical microscope is depicted in this figure. An electron beam is formed at the tip of a heated filament. The electrons are accelerated with high voltages and are guided through an electron microscope column by electromagnetic lenses. The beam penetrates and interacts with the specimen and leads to an image. The image is monitored on a phosphorescent screen or specially designed CCD camera and recorded. A TEM typically consists of the following components: an electron gun that produces a stream of monochromatic electrons, electromagnetic condenser lenses that focuses the electrons into a small beam, a sample stage in which the sample is placed, an objective lens to focus the transmitted beam, a projector lens to enlarge the image, allowing the optical recording of the image carried by the transmitted electron beams, and a fluorescent screen to view the image or a CCD camera to record it. Electron microscopes are high vacuum systems. In the area of the electron source, a vacuum of 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power minus 10 millibar is necessary to prevent oxidation or burning of the heated filament. The column and the area of specimen are evacuated to a vacuum of 10 to the power minus 5 to 10 to the power minus 7 millibar, which corresponds to a mean free path greater than 50 meter. Any collision with a residual gas molecule in the system reduces the resolution and the performance by the scattering of electrons. So to avoid such a scattering, the system is kept at very high vacuum. Now let's see what kind of interactions are possible when a beam of electrons are interacting with some atoms or molecules. Electron specimen interactions that we discuss here is common for both TEM and SEM. The electron beam hits the sample and either passes through the sample unaffected or it interacts with the specimen. Three different types of interactions can take place between electrons and the atoms of the sample. One is that an electron of primary beam is scattered by the electrostatic interaction with a positively charged nucleus of an atom to an angle more than 90 degree, yielding the backscattered electrons. And this type of electrons has practically the same energy as the ones of the primary beam. Another interaction is that an electron of the primary beam is scattered by the electrostatic interaction with the positively charged nucleus of an atom at an angle of less than 90 degree, and this yields elastically scattered electrons. And the third possibility is that the electrons can also lose energy when interacting with the electron cloud of the atom. These are called inelastically scattered electrons, and this interaction, inelastic scattering interaction, can lead to many other processes like the inertial ionization, where an electron is pushed out of the electron cloud and this electron vacancy is filled by an electron of an outer shell. Now the excess energy in this transmission is either emitted as characteristic X-ray or transferred to another electron, and which is then emitted as an Auger electron. Another one is bremsstrahlung, where the deceleration of electrons in the Coulomb field leads to the emission of X-rays carrying the surplus energy delta E. Note that these are not characteristic X-rays, as the wavelength depends the extent to which the primary electrons are decelerated by the interacting atom. So a continuous wavelength emission of X-rays are possible by this process. Another process is the emission of the secondary electrons. Here a loosely bound electron be ejected as a consequence of inelastic scattering, and these secondary electrons will be having very low kinetic energy, typically less than 50 electron volts. Almost all types of these electron interactions can be used to retrieve information about the specimen. Depending on the kind of radiation or the emitted electrons which are used for detection, different properties of the specimen such as topography, elemental composition, etc. can be deduced. Apart from these events, inelastic scattering can also lead to lattice vibrations, plasma oscillations, and cathode luminescence. In TEM analysis, the elastically scattered electrons are mainly used for imaging. The inelastically scattered electrons will also be recorded with the imaging device. They have a slightly lower energy than the primary electrons, and they are deviated less strongly in the electron lens and do not merge at the same spot as the elastically scattered electrons. So they contribute to unsharpness of the image. In high-end instruments, the inelastically scattered electrons can be filtered out with an energy filter. X-rays are always produced when matter interacts with an electron beam. The energy of a part of the emitted X-ray is specific for different atoms and can be used for elemental analysis in TEM and SEM using special detectors. However, the analysis of light elements are rather difficult with these X-rays. Now let's see how imaging is done in TEM. The primary electron beam that passes through the thin specimen generates a non-diffracted and diffracted electromagnetic waves. The objective lens collates the diffracted and non-diffracted waves in the image plane and forms the primary image. Very light elements like carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. leads to poor interaction with the electrons and hence provides almost no contrast in the imaging. Also, the absorption of electrons by the specimen is very small and does not contribute to contrast formation. Absorption of electrons would result in heat damage of the specimen if it is heat sensitive. At high magnification, at which a small area of the specimen is exposed to high radiation, beam damage is an issue. Heavier elements leads to a much higher interaction and diffraction of the electrons. The main contrast formation is achieved by trapping the diffracted electrons using the objective aperture located in the back focal plane of the objective lens. The spots of the samples containing more heavy elements will lead to a higher number of diffracted or scattered electrons which will hit the objective aperture. So these electrons do not reach the imaging device and will cause a dark region in the image. Thus, these dark regions are actually electron dense areas of the specimen. Thus, a TEM image can provide reliable information about the size and shape of the nanoparticles or nanostructures. The primary image is magnified or demagnified by the projective lenses arranged below the objective lens. The final image can be viewed by eye on a large screen in the microscope. The screen consists of a phosphorescent layers which starts to emit light when hit by electrons. Electron microscopy is usually performed in the dark to receive a good contrast on the viewing screen. For many decades, images were taken by exposing electron-sensitive films to the electron beam, and the negatives were developed by conventional film development in a dark room. Nowadays, specialized CCD cameras are used for image acquisition. CCD cameras are available which reach the resolution of a conventional chemical film. The standard CCD cameras for TEM have a number of 2x2K to 4x4K pixels, being sufficient for most applications including biological imaging. The objective lens is positioned below the sample specimen and it represents the most important lens in the microscope since it generates the first intermediate image as well as the first diffraction pattern. The quality of the image formed by the objective lens determines the resolution of the whole microscope. The lens system located below the objective lens is called the diffraction or intermediate lens, and this can be either focused onto the first intermediate image in the imaging mode or onto back focal plane in the diffraction mode, and thereby determines which of them is further magnified by the projective lens. The diffraction lens allows one to switch between the imaging and the diffraction mode just by pressing a knob. The possibility to work almost simultaneously in real space and in reciprocal space at the same area of a specimen makes TEM an outstanding tool for materials characterization. An aperture can be inserted in the back focal plane of the objective lens to select one or more beams in diffraction mode. An aperture is just a metal plate with holes. Only the electrons hitting the holes pass the aperture, whereas others are completely absorbed by the metal. The selected beams then build up an image with a particular information. If only the beam on the optic axis is allowed to pass the aperture, a bright field TEM image is formed. The aperture can be shifted to select one or more diffracted beams, resulting in a dark field image. To ensure high image quality, this aperture has to be on the optical axis of the microscope. For this purpose, the electron beam is tilted before the sample in such a way that the selected diffracted beam passes through the aperture that stays on the optic axis. If a large aperture is selected, the direct beam as well as the diffracted beams are collected so that they interfere with each other in the imaging plane. And this is the setup used for high resolution TEM popularly called HR-TEM. Another aperture, the selected area aperture, placed in the plane of the first intermediate image, enables one to choose the specimen region of which a selected area electron diffraction pattern is obtained. SAED diffraction patterns are either simple spot patterns corresponding to a single crystal diffraction or ring patterns corresponding to powder diffraction from multiple crystals with variable orientations. SAED is commonly used for phase identification, determination of structural ingrowth, determination of growth directions, estimation of lattice parameters, etc. High resolution TEM or HRTEM delivers the most detailed structural information possible in order to fundamentally characterize the specimen down to their atomic levels. And this is invaluable to nanomaterials research as minor structural inconsistencies and variations can result in substantial changes to the properties of the material. It allows us to directly measure the interplanar spacing in the material. A TM is a highly sophisticated instrument with a number of advantages, such as TM offers the most powerful magnification, potentially over 1 million times or more, and images are high quality and detailed. TM finds wide range of applications and can be utilized in a variety of different scientific, educational and industrial fields. TMs provide information on element and compound structure. It yields information of surface features, shape, size and structure. Some cons of TMs are large and very expensive instruments which needs special housing and periodic maintenance. TM operation and image analysis requires special training. Samples need to be prepared very specifically and often it is a laborious task. Sometimes there can be potential artifacts from sample preparation. Samples are limited to those that are electron transparent, vacuum compatible and small enough to fit in the chamber. Another drawback of TM images are that they are black and white. Electron microscopes are sensitive to vibrations and electromagnetic fields and must be housed in an area that isolate them from possible exposure.